Welcome to Seeing This. I am Mike Ornelas, and today I'm joined by Out of This World director and co-writer Mike Stasko, plus two of its stellar stars, Jessica Antovski and Oliver Georgiou. Mike, Jessica, Oliver, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks
for having
me.
us.
Congratulations on the film. What a fun time. The movie has a bit of everything, as the title implies. Mike, let's start with you. How did you and fellow co-writer Jacob Skrzypa, if I said his last name right, come up with this idea?
I'll just correct it for his sake. Jacob Skrzypa. He does have all the consonants all pushed together, so I don't blame you. Yeah, this was actually originally a script that Jacob and the other co-writer, Alex Foreman, had worked on way back in high school days. And they had actually shot some of it as grade 10 students. And then, 10 years later or so, they brought it to me just as like more of a writing sample. We were discussing, they were bringing other projects to me as well, but I kind of really like the humor of this one. I like their humor in general, as far as a lot of the YouTube video stuff that they've done under the moniker Fun Uncle. But it was all small, short form stuff. And I came on board to kind of help the script get to that long form stage where you have characters with through lines and plot points that add up together, whatever. A lot of the comedy and humor was already there. And even when as we did the rewrites and rework scenes, it was no problem for those two guys to funny up things at any point.
Jessica and Oliver, I imagine that when you read this script, there must have been so many different thoughts that came to mind. What were some of your first thoughts when you read it for the first time, and what about it caught your interest to get involved?
The first time I read the script, all I got was the scenes that Mike wanted me to do for the audition, and I immediately got excited because I've done multiple different greaser characters and different comedy bits and whatnot. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna bring a couple different things to this. But it was just how much fun it was, how much fun the dialogue was. And I knew for a fact that when Mike got back to me and said, hey, can you do this weird character that you did for one of these takes just for all the rest of these takes, and do a couple other scenes as this loose Elvis character, I just knew that I'd have the most fun. It was, the humor was quite offbeat, and so I, definitely checked in about a couple different things, but everything was on the level. It was great.
I just thought it was so crazy and funny and random, and it was actually, I think, my first in-person audition that I ever did, because I got into acting during the pandemic, and I didn't really know what to expect, but I did have to do like a Southern accent. So that really stood out to me when I was reading the script and learning it. I was like, okay, I know how to do a Southern accent, but I want it to be believable. So I did a lot of just watching interviews of people who have Southern accents, trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. And the script was the easy part, I feel like, because it was just so fun to play with, and the team also was just so nice and kind, so it made the whole process and audition process really easy.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is your first feature film role, and I'm curious what the difference was to your approach for this movie versus, let's say, some of the shorts or TV series that you've done in the past.
Yeah, so this was, obviously, it's like a crazy comedy film set in the 1950s, but I had only done, like, dramatic short films before that, so the approach was a lot different, the vibes were extremely different, but I had, I think, so much more fun on this set, for sure.
It looked like a lot of fun, to say the very least. There's various camp horror films out there, but this one came off very polished with, like, in regards to production design, including the costumes and cinematography. Mike, can you talk about how you brought your vision to life and kind of constructed this crew for the film?
Yeah, I mean, this was a very collaborative, creative process with a very deep crew. a crew that I had, a lot of them I had done feature films with before, mostly based out of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Um, the cinematographer Ken Amlin, I had seen a bunch of his work before, and he totally understood the vibe that I was going for, and the black and white aesthetic, and we worked together on the camera kind of test shoots and the lighting look, and discussed that a bunch. The production design led by Greg Maxwell. Um, he had been on my various sets before, but in different roles as either art director. I've had him as continuity at one point as well. But he's a graphic designer in his own right, and he already works within this milieu of this. Like, his natural aesthetic is like camp 1950s horror. So it's just like very, very perfect match there. Um, and even Emily Asner, who did the costume design, who I've worked with before as well, on period pieces as well. Um, yeah, Dish just did a lot of homework to put it together, and needless to say, every department was working on a real tight budget to kind of achieve that, which, as a producer, really lent itself to the B movie vibe that we were after anyway. So it worked out well.
It fit it seamlessly well. Again, the production value seemed a lot higher than maybe the budget was. So congratulations to you and the team there. There's a lot of homage paid to classic horror films in this movie, and you all seem to have a lot of fun doing it, as I mentioned. I'd love to know, what are some of your favorite horror films that each of you pulled inspiration from in preparation for this movie?
I don't know if this is a horror movie exactly, but I mean, it is what this movie, it was taken inspiration from for this movie, is Spaceballs, if you've heard of it.
Of course.
I watched that when I was younger a lot. I don't know if I should have been, but I was watching it. And that movie stood out to me because I was talking with the writers, and they said that was one of their biggest inspirations. And we just really bonded over the fact that we both love that movie, and that this movie is very, very similar to that one. But like, in regards to horror movies, it's not similar to this one at all, but I really loved the Paranormal Activity movies. I just loved the way those were shot, and it was kind of like found footage vibes, and I really like those types of films for sure.
So I wasn't actually drawing from any camp horror films, really. I mean, I suppose the Evil Dead movies with Ash kind of thing. There was a little bit of that in there, but I think that because it was the greaser, because it was the old timey, I definitely took obviously the voice from more of an Elvis place, but then a lot of the angles and the way that I was holding my body was kind of more James Dean, or more one of the classic actors from back then. So I think I think I drew my inspirations from elsewhere and let the film do its own thing.
That's an awesome point, because I feel like in watching you definitely captured a lot of like the 50s actor, which is where this movie takes place. So that's very poignant. Mike, as far as writing and how you approach this, I mean, obviously there's a lot of homage and it's clearly in the film, but is there anything specific that really you pulled from?
From what I pulled directly, I would say Young Frankenstein and Plan 9 from Outer Space, and actually the Ed Wood film by Tim Burton that kind of spoofed that as well, as far as certain like looks and campiness. But the film that most, and I don't think there's a real comparison, only that it's a black and white horror film, but my favorite black and white horror film is Eraserhead by David Lynch, which sometimes doesn't come across as a straight horror film. But now that I've been a father of 3, I see how it is a horror film. So yeah, I don't think much was directly pulled from it, but obviously beautiful cinematography in it.
100%. And to be honest, I was quite surprised at how like violent and gory this film was, for being more of a camp horror. At least in my experience, you don't see it go to that level, but it does, yet it's very fun and lighthearted. How do you walk that tight rope when developing the tone for this movie?
That was a bit more difficult because I think there was like close to 80 speaking roles. So to try to maintain a thread of like how camp we're going, but I think one of the main through lines was the idea that the characters themselves are taking this all serious. There's no real tongue in cheek to the audience. So for Jessica and Oliver, they're almost the two most straight characters in the whole film that take it serious the whole way. Yet they both get some of the biggest laughs as well. And I think some of that comes from them playing it so serious as a real problem and delivering these insane lines that way. And I think to anchor the opposite of that was to have Ken Amlin, the cinematographer, still shoot it in a very handsome way. It had to look the part of that nice, beautiful black and white thing. So then when you see the ridiculous thing happening within that frame, it effectively turns it on its head properly.
Absolutely. Oliver, you have a background in comedy and improv through the Second City there in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken. Did you get to do any improvisation with your role, or did that at all inform your performance?
So to clarify, I've done a little bit with the Second City, but there's a lot of different comedy institutions, and a lot of what I've done and produced has been kind of on my own self. But yes, I was able to a little bit. There was a line in the my talking about my my brother Elmo that I was a little bit iffy on, kind of thing. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna, just so that I don't say, hey, I'm not gonna do this and not offer you anything else. I went and wrote out 3 alternative lines, and I handed them off to Jacob and Mike, and they were like, okay, well, let's try all of them. So I did 2 takes for each of those lines, and then did the original line just kind of as an off camera thing. And then they ended up mashing the original line up with half of one of my lines.
Oh, nice.
So that was kind of fun to I guess somewhat be a part of the writing process, just so that I could show this to my comedy friends and be okay with it, feel okay with it. You know what I mean? And there were a couple other moments where a little bit of improvisation was here and there, just kind of the repetition of lines or how they came out. Mostly the improvisation was how it came out. I never really pre-planned how I was going to say anything, besides, the idea of what I wanted to get it out, how I wanted to get it out. So that was where a lot of the improv came in.
I love that. Jessica, you mentioned that, previously a lot of your roles were a lot more dramatic. After doing this film, do you find yourself being drawn into either camp horror, something more comedy, or do you feel your heart is kind of still in dramatic roles? Where are you at as far as where you want to go moving forward now?
I think this role really opened me up towards this type of genre and comedy and horror, and that's actually like all of the work I've done since, or majority of it, is horror. So I don't know if that's just my typecast now as horror. I'm not mad about that. It's fun. It's great. I love horror. But I do still love drama. Like that is my favorite genre to do, for sure.
You guys have been gracious with your time, and I'm sure with the Halloween season around, a lot of people to talk to promote the film. So I'll just ask one last question for each of you. What is a underseen film that you would like to recommend to folks, whether it's in the genre or somewhere else? What's one of your favorite movies that probably needs a little bit more appreciation that you would like to recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I could have a very deep list on that, but staying with the camp horror, like the camp genre at least, there's a film in the mid 80s called Top Secret that was a Val Kilmer film, and it was by the same group of people who did like the Police Squad, like Naked Gun and Airplane and all that. It was kind of like their first foray into it, and I had that on VHS as a kid, and it is very like juvenile humor.
Right.
But I mean, I watched that thing over and over and over again, and I didn't really see Val Kilmer do anything else, and I think he wanted to be more of like a traditional leading man, like serious parts and stuff. But yeah, I don't find anyone talking about it or mentioning it, and it's just kind of not really out there anymore. So if anyone wants to check that one out, the other one I'll just quickly mention, I'm going to go with the second one too, just because it's a comedy and it has Canadian connections, is The Last Polka which was an SCTV film that was only like an hour long, and it's John Candy and Eugene Levy, and they kind of lampooned my background of like Eastern European Slovakia kind of thing, and they play clarinet and accordion, and it's just really really funny. And again, I mean, you can find it on YouTube. Someone uploaded it, but it's just gone off into the ether. But The Last Polka, I would check that out.
I don't know if this is like a well-known movie or not, but it's just one that I always think about when I think about horror movies, because it was when I had like a whole horror movie phase when I was like 12, which is really random, but I remember watching this movie called Hush, and it's like if I remember, it's like this girl is like alone in her house, or she's deaf, and there's like some killer like that's stalking her, and I don't know if that's popular, but like I remember I thought that was such a good movie. It's not a comedy. It's not like campy. I wouldn't consider that campy, but in regards to like comedy movies, this isn't, I don't know if this would be considered camp at all, but one of my favorite movies is 21 Jump Street.
Oh, sure.
So I had to shout that out. I love that movie.
That's a great call there.
I'm wondering if Hush, the film, was based off the Buffy episode, or if the Buffy episode was based off of the film.
Maybe.
But it's a completely silent episode with these characters who kind of like nobody can talk while they're around, and it's so creepy.
Oh yeah.
But the only thing I can think of, because I don't tend to have favorites with many things anymore, and so I just Fantastic Planet is always kind of my go-to. It's a great one. I feel like a lot of like cinephiles might know it. I'm far from a cinephile, but it's just beautiful animation. It's not a horror or a comedy. It's like a 1960s, 70s animation that has to do with like human rights, but it's a bunch of blue aliens subjecting human beings to the same thing that we subject animals to. So great film, fantastic visuals. Watch it while you're high. It's great.
Great call. We actually did a foreign film focus on that film for one of our episodes. So that's a great call. I promise you, viewers, I didn't send him that recommendation. That came organically. Vampires, zombies, aliens. Like I mentioned, this film has everything. Jessica, Oliver, Mike, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on the film, and congratulations to the Blue Jays making it to the World Series.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Take care.